day one is always a little bit unique. There's a lot of emotion, a lot of energy. I think what we're going to really have to try to do is figure out how, and if we can, practice in what we have as Spiders out here today, and be a more mature team. I mean, if we really look back at it, is to say, how do we get better at what we do? Well, they're going to have things happen. You're going to have injuries, but we got to be smart about spring football, meaning that we're going to be able to practice with Spiders on and make sure we can get the best work possible. And in that regard, you're not probably finding out who the toughest, most physical person is, but you are finding out some mental toughness, you are finding out some emotional toughness. You'll still be able to get your work done, and then as you'll see us kind of change from Tuesdays to Thursdays to Saturdays, we're able to go live and some full go on Saturdays, but Tuesdays are going to have to be controlled a little bit more. And I wouldn't say today was controlled, it's always day one, so there's always a little greater emotion, but there's a lot of things we can learn from. Defensively did a great job at going after the football, punching the ball. Offensively, we got to take care of it. And there's way too many times the ball was on the ground and the ball was in harm's way. If you're an offense and defensively, it could be a good thing. But a lot of things to correct up and move forward with.
Talking about the practice structure, you've done this throughout your tenure here, but spring break is going to kind of section off spring football between unpadded and padded. What do you like about that setup, or what do you think it does for you guys as a team? I know you kind of have to.
No, it is. I think that with the rules and what it allows you to do is I think we do the 2 weeks prior, we do some of the OTAs where we spend a little bit more time on the field of football, tax our guys mentally and a lot of things where you would worry if all of a sudden you're going into spring football, you want the most energy and things like that for all 15 of those practices. But when you can kind of throw spring break in there, you kind of get a few OTAs beforehand, then you got 4 practices and you get a nice break. So I think it does. It looks like it's only 4 practices, but I think there is a bit of the first half of what we're doing, and there's a second half of what we're doing. And obviously you don't have control of some of those things, but you do have control when you start spring ball. So I kind of like where it is, and we'll use it the way we can best use it.
Your linebackers, Kamara and Heiberger, really flashed today. What do you like about that combo coming in and maybe being able to mix and match some fronts there?
Well, there's a lot of things we got to figure out in that group. I think there's some depth. Obviously, some guys with some experience with both Coop and Post coming back, and Tommy had 100 and some snaps last year as well, and then you can add some of the new guys and our ability to be able to play sometimes with 3 linebackers on the field. I think that you saw a little bit more of that, and inside this league, and you're going to see a lot of 2 tight ends, 3 tight end sets that you got to be really good at being able to play with multiple personnel defensively as well.
When you look at him and Russell, he was the guy that you guys brought into the defensive line. What stands out about him? And I know it's only one day on the football field, but just what do you think he can bring to that group?
Yeah, I think that just like maybe Suggs brought us last year, and obviously we had Ben Barton, who was a 6th-year guy last year. You need some veteran experience, and I think Hammond, as he's come in, I wasn't quite sure. You never know when you get some of these guys, but there's a definite veteran experience, meaning in the way he handles things, the way he understands, even leadership and the dynamics of a locker room. I've been impressed with not just the way he's played, but the way he's kind of handled everything, and put himself in a position where he's going to show a lot of things. I think this spring, he's had some injuries in the past, and here's a guy that got to be able to learn from things like that, so that they can take care of their body. Because durability is every bit as important as ability.
You made mention of leaders. A lot of those guys graduated, moved on to the next level now. Is this the time of year that you kind of form the next leadership group, or have you entered practice with that already?
I think there's some uniqueness to that. That's the toughest thing about sometimes the transfer world is, you're throwing a different mix of guys. You want to create a culture, regardless if you think that it's been really positive, right? We haven't won. We haven't had the successes on the field. But I do believe that there's been a growth as far as culturally of the things that we expect and we want. And I think, having some of that still here is really good for us, And I don't mean it's really old. I mean, you got your Aaron Witts and you got your Matt Youngs, who are older guys that I think bring something a little bit different. But then you also got your Coops and your Posters who, played a really big role last year and kind of showed a different leadership that I think we haven't had here, whether it's an older guy or a younger guy. And so I think there's a really good combination. We need to see how the rest of the mix kind of fits together with a lot of these newer guys. But you do. That's another thing that you think you might see a little bit in the winter conditioning, but you see a hell of a lot more of it when you all of a sudden start putting the pads on and seeing a little bit of a different adversity.
Gideon was listed as TBD for spring. Do you have any idea what his outlook is for this season at all?
No. I mean, he had a surgery not too long ago. Hopefully he'll be out and around with us. I don't envision him being on the football field right now. I don't know where that leads to, but I hope we've got him out here with us and as a part of the team in some capacity.
Coach, safeties made some plays today. Cairo moving over there, Burks coming in. What do you like about your safety room this year?
I do think there's some depth there too. I mean, we're going to find out. Just because a guy like Marvin comes in, who's been a 2-year starter, doesn't exactly mean they just walk in the door and they're the guy. I mean, I think that we all know that competition brings out the best in everybody. And moving Cairo in there, trying to move him around a little bit, played some nickel as well. It just gives us some flexibility. We got to find a way, always defensively, to put the best 11 players on the field. If that's 3 linebackers, if that's 3 safeties, if that's 3 corners, at some way, somehow, that's what a lot of this evaluation through spring will be about.
Coach, you had touched on Mason and Coop, and it's hard to expect a significant jump with the year that they had last year, but how have you seen them continue to refine their game and kind of take those incremental steps to get just that?
Yeah, I think when all of a sudden it's new and you're just playing instinctually, like a lot of times freshmen do, there's a next step to things. When all of a sudden there's an expectation out of you, there's a role as part of a leadership. And I'm not saying you didn't lead even as a freshman, because they did. But I think when there's another element to an expectation of how you handle yourself every day, there does add some things. And so it's not what you guys see and what you evaluate every day as far as when the ball snapped, but I think their roles and a lot of those things, their growth has shown through the winter. Their ability to embrace a lot of the new guys that are walking in the door and understand that the only way we're going to be successful is if we can mesh this whole thing together. And that's a lot of different personalities that have a lot of expectations individually, and how do we do it together as a team.
I don't know if you saw Ryan Day the other day was talking about how jersey numbers has become a big part of the transfer recruiting and everything. And what is the calculus you guys run through in terms of how guys get their jersey numbers? I know it changes up to the Friday before the first game. But
I'll be honest with you, I would have said that if 6 people wanted number 1, I told them put 6 people in number 1. I don't care in the spring. A lot of things will determine and figure themselves out. There's a play hard board that when you earn the right to be up on that board, you earn the right to pick your number if you really want to know the truth. But yeah, there's an element to that, and what I don't want is any negatives. Like if a guy wants to be 0, then in spring I'll put him in 0. And if there's 4 zeros out there, there's 4 zeros out there. You kind of recognize probably whoever's makes the play hard board or whoever is going to be out there on the first snap is going to be wearing that number. And if you want to play and somebody else has your number, maybe you might think about having a different number, but all things that are part of the dynamics of building a team.
Can you talk about that board a little bit? Does it change over? Or
there's nothing on it now, and it's an introduction to something that's not after 1 or 2 practices. It's the idea of, hey, this is a consistency thing, and our ability to figure out what the standard is and be able to show the standard is what we want to praise, and it's kind of the highest regard within our program. And there's a lot of things that we'll continue to do, and I try to remind them. I said, guys are on the playoff, but they'll never have a bad practice. It doesn't mean they didn't throw an interception. Doesn't mean they didn't miss a tackle. That just means the way they handle themselves, the intensity they go about it with, whether it's a walkthrough day, whether it's a spiders day, whether it's a full pad day. There's a very little of a difference in what it is that they do and how they do it.
With Kevin, I noticed he's Haywood listed at 6'9", 320 now. Looks like he grew in the offseason, and at least first impression looks like he's moving better. But what type of offseason did he just have to put himself in this position?
I would tell you the best thing that Kev did was he didn't wait till the offseason. Yes, he rehabbed. Yes, he was in a position that in his mind he could make it back the last couple of games of the season, which there was no way we were going to put him out there and do that. But I think where Kevin took some steps is even when he wasn't able to play, even when he wasn't able to be on the field, he had a role. He had a role in a part as a leader. He had a role in a part as bringing that offensive line together, and especially the guys within his class. And he didn't wait till he was cleared. He hasn't waited till spring ball to all of a sudden put himself back out there and try to establish himself as a player and as a leader. He really kind of did that from the time that he got over the injury. And I mean that more as a mentally thing, and everything that he did as far as rehab and how he was a big part of what we were doing last year.
supposed to ask you about injuries and stuff like that. Barrett Nelson, I didn't see out there really.
So he's still recovering. Hopefully, not like Gideon, but hopefully that we'll have him. I don't know that he'll be a part of spring ball, meaning playing, but he'll be at least out here with us and a part of it, and inserting his ability to lead and things in a way where he can't maybe play this spring, but hope that by the time spring ends and we get to fall, he'll be able to be cleared.
Coach, this is your 4th year at Wisconsin. What are you most excited about heading into another spring and another year?
Yeah, I think just the idea that, there's a lot of things that we haven't done, and I kind of said to the guys the other day, we walked into the locker room, there's a lot of construction going on here, and I saw the locker room is basically gutted, and our guys are in the south end zone in the visiting locker room, and it kind of to me was like, okay, regardless of what's happened the last 3 years, it's kind of like, hey, we got to start anew. And I'm not saying you want to do that every single year. There's still things that you build upon, but it's like, hey, no matter what has happened in the past, like this is a new opportunity for this group of guys. We learned a lot from where we've been, but we also learned a lot of the gaps we got to be able to close. And so, to me, I'm most excited about, hey, can we bring this thing together? We've got some core crux nucleus of leadership that has seen some of the struggles that we've had, and I think it's going to make us who we are.
Coach, a lot of new players, but also several new coaches kind of working into this. How has that process been, getting everybody in the coaching staff together?
Yeah, I mean, that's a piece of it as well, as we had to walk through even where we are on fields and things like that in day one, and so there's a lot of guys, and there's even some uniqueness of, say, hey, how does that all come together as a group and as leaders as well. And so, again, I've been really pleased. I've been really excited about where we are with that entire group. But I think that's what we start to see now too. You see adversity every single day, meaning whether your guys or your group had days up or days down, they performed really well. You start to see how all that stuff kind of forms together, not just on the football field, but even up in the coaches' rooms as well.
Thank you, everybody.
Good. All right, thanks.
Thanks, Coach.